Wagwan Krusty crew, welcome back to another video. The first one in months actually, and I got some passion right now. I can't lie. I just got off my plane quite literally half an hour ago, and I jetted home. And I want to make this video right now, talking about what I played to the European International Championships, how it went, and why I advise you to be playing what I played, for reasons that I will outline in a sec. I am very passionate about this topic. I think that there's a lot of merit to what I'm about to say. But if you don't mind, if you're new here, hitting the subscribe button, it'd be really helpful. I want to make this a bigger part of my life, and to do so, I need to get monetized. So the more y'all can help with the like and subscribe button in the comments and all that stuff, the more that helps me create better content. So without further ado, let's hop right into the video. All right, welcome back, y'all. Let's get right into it here. I want to talk about the archetype I chose, how EUIC went, kind of my thought process as to how this went, and why I decided to play the archetype that I did. And also thoughts going forward. And I really think, full disclaimer guys, this is why you clicked the video, I really think you should be playing this deck right now. So let me get right into it. So obviously here's EUIC, record number of players, 4,010 players, which is insane for a tournament. But a really fun weekend. I think everyone had a good time. The event was really smooth, all that yada yada. So let's get into, first of all, what I played. So I am here at 70th place, which is pretty solid for an IC with 4,000 players, so I was quite happy with that. A little bit bittersweet for me. I finished 10-3-1, and 10 wins should be enough to cash any event, anytime, when it's out of 14 rounds. So 10 wins and a draw and 3 losses should be enough to cash. Unfortunately, I did bubble out by about 1%. So there was a bunch of people with the same record as me, about 15 of them that got into winning $2,000 cash for top 64, and then another 20 or 25 that dropped out. So such is life. Not gonna cry about it too much, but definitely a little bittersweet for me. But let's get into what I played and why I played it. So going into the tournament, there's a lot of hype around a few different decks. So right now, big 3 decks: Gardevoir, Dragapult, Goldengo. Those are your big 3. Outside of that, there's some rumblings about Absol Box, which you'll see shortly, won the tournament, and some other variants like Charizard. Right, like there are a bunch of decks going around. Why did I play Grimmsnarl? So if you recall 2 weeks ago on Shift Gear, I told Kieran, maybe you recall, maybe you don't, I told Kieran that I've never played Grimmsnarl before. It was the one archetype I never touched. And after that episode, I was inspired to go try it out. And I thought a few things about Grimmsnarl. I should clarify. I had played it in passing before, but I've never played it with the intention of actually playing it. So a couple things I already knew about Grimmsnarl. 1, obviously very bricky. 2, can be a little bit linear at times, in the sense of you don't have a whole lot in terms of attackers. There's not a lot of variety. You're kind of more or less confined to attacking with Grimmsnarl most games, unless you play a more teched out version that includes Badoo or Yveltal. We're mostly just looking through the Shadow Bolt strategy. So those are 2 things that were important, and I think the first one was the most important. So you are bricking a lot with this deck, and if you played Grimmsnarl or played against Grimmsnarl, you will notice that Grimmsnarl is very powerful when it sets up. It's just the problem is it doesn't set up a lot of the time. So normally when I go into these tournaments, and you'll kind of see, I'll go through very quickly some of my other results as a player. I have a lot of tech cards that I put into my list. So normally I will play tech cards like Enamorus and Defiance Band and Energy Switch in my Gardevoir deck to get an edge on matchups that maybe I didn't feel too good about. Or I'll play off meta. I'll play Garchomp to NAIC, which is, again, very questionable decision. But so that's kind of what I'm getting at. I normally like to tech things out and really be kind of unique in what I do. In this Dragapult list that I top 8'd with last year, I played a very unconventional 2 Crispin, 2 Turo, along with a Defiance Vest and a Rare Candy. So a lot of weird stuff going on, but I always like to get the upper hand on my opponents by teching. This list is the complete opposite of that. I knew that Grimmsnarl is a strong enough deck. I knew that I'm a strong enough player that if I can get into every game, then I can win most of the time. Still, a few things you'll notice that are different from a main Grimmsnarl list. We have only 2 bosses orders and a counter catcher. So normally, it depends on what list you look at. Some lists play 1 Gust, some lists play 5. So I guess it really is dependent on what you look at. The one that won Merida by Raj played 5, I believe, so 2 counter catcher, 3 boss. I didn't feel like I needed all that. I thought 2 boss, 1 counter catcher was okay. I'll talk about where I'd go with this list going forward in a second. But yeah, so that's the first anomaly. The second one is 2 Rare Candy, 2 Buddy Poffin. Most or almost all lists play 1 Rare Candy, 1 Buddy Poffin. I decided I want to go 2 of each. Reason being, I thought being aggressive into Grimmsnarl was really, really good into a lot of matchups, Gardevoir specifically. So I was planning on that. Gives you a chance in Goldengo as well if you can go quickly with Grimmsnarl. And I was anticipating a lot of the time that my opponents would assume that I only play one Rare Candy and that I can't get Grimmsnarl out turn 2. So this second Rare Candy I think is a staple going forward, at least for me, with the way and my philosophy of building this deck. So that's a big one. Buddy-Buddy Poffin, it's just a good card. Like, I was starting with it a lot in my opening hands raw, so that always felt really good. And in a deck that plays 3/3 Froslass, you do want to have as many outs to Snorunt as you possibly can. Another reason I played this, the 2 Buddy Poffins here, is I was expecting a lot of Dragapult, which, as you'll see in a second, was true. So I wanted to go with the double Buddy Poffin in the off chance that I could open it, and if I'm going first, or even if I'm going second, I can play it in my starting hand and really get the Snorunts down. Is the key to the Dragon Ball matchup a lot of the time is just getting Froslass out, and if you get 2 Froslass out, it's almost impossible to lose from that point. So 2 big anomalies there. The third one is 4 Spike Myth Gym, which you might look at, you'd be like, all right, this is just overkill. Guys, let me put it to you like this. This is the best stadium in the game, okay? It is a fully functional stadium for you and never a functional stadium for your opponent. It's awesome. It lets you search your deck at any point. You don't have to pay as much attention to your prizes because you have this open deck search at all times, so it saves you a bit of time. And also searches out your best Pokemon, right? So there's always some combinations to be had with this. So I saw some synergy between 2 Rare Candy and 4 Spike Myth. Just knowing that anytime I have Spike Myth out, I'm just a Rare Candy away from having Rare Candy Grimmsnarl at all times. So we got the 5 supporters in here. We have 2 Rare Candies, 2 Buddy Poffins, and then we have the Ursaluna. The Ursaluna is obviously a little bit contentious. I still don't know how I feel about this. Towards the end of this video, I'm going to touch on kind of where I'd go with this list coming out of EUIC. But this is my main philosophy. So my main philosophy going into the tournament, and I didn't have much time to test. I was in Europe the week before, so I wasn't really thinking too much. But my main philosophy was I am a strong enough player, and I think this deck is strong enough that if I get into most games, I can win. And that was true. So it ended up going really, really well. I think you all need to pick up this deck because I think this deck is underappreciated. I think this deck is undervalued. And I think this build of this deck, which is inspired by this list over here. Let me show you guys where I kind of took inspiration for this from. Where is this list? You know, a good YouTuber would just have this up, but I'm not a good YouTuber. Where the heck is Kato's list? There we go. Okay, here we go. So my list was inspired from this. And what you'll notice about this is it plays very similar counts to what I played. He had an extra Dark Energy in 9, but he had 4 Spike Myth, 2 Rare Candy, 2 Buddy Poffin, even an extra supporter in Research. But there was no likes of Boss's Orders and only 1 counter catcher and an energy switch. So like definitely some little differences here, but you get the idea. So my list was inspired by this, which took down almost took down an 80 player special event, which I guess doesn't hold much value, but I saw that Kato's a good player and I decided this is the way I want to build this. So going forward, I think a lot of people are still cheating on Grimmsnarl. They're playing these like skimpy lists with a lot of text, and I don't mean to single anyone out, but I'm going to go and look at some of the Grimmsnarl lists from this event and kind of see if we can poke some holes in them a little bit. So here's one by Asaki. Very consistent as well. This is just like Kato's list. This is a really bad example, but there are, I'm sure, some other ones here. So let's check out this one. What do you know? 2 Buddy Poffin looks very consistent, actually. So maybe this is actually exactly what I was trying to illustrate, but by accident. So if you look at all these lists, the ones that really did well in this tournament, so it was myself, those 2 fellas. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. So there's another one. Alberto Conti played it as well. He came top 64. Yeah, no, still pretty consistent. There's, I mean, I just look at the counts here and try to make sure that they make sense. 4 Night Stretcher is definitely kind of crazy, but everything seems to be a little bit more on the consistency side for this tournament. There's one more here. Let's check this out. Yeah, pretty consistent still. There's not a lot of text going on. So if you looked at Raj's list from Santiago, let's go back there. Or sorry, I believe it was Merida. Let's go over here. You'll notice that there is a little bit more going on. So what I was trying to get away from was this, and I think Raj's list was perfect for that event, and I think he would say the same thing now. It's like, and I've talked to him a little bit, so I kind of understand where he's coming from too with this. It's like you need the text going into certain metas and going into certain events because you want to win the event. When it comes to ICs and EUIC in general, at least for me, I'm always of the mind that I just need to play a consistent deck because there's so many people in these tournaments. Your quality of player that you're playing as is going to be lower. And I know that sounds very egotistical or whatever, but that's just generally how I found these events to go. These ICs, I'm going to go and pull up my own page again here real quick. These ICs, I always tend to do well at just because it makes me play consistent decks. Like, I played last year at EUIC. I day 2 as well. I was just playing like very simple Goldengo list. It just kind of did what it needed to do. I know it looks really all over the place because there's so many energies. NAIC last year, I played a Garchomp deck that sets up basically every game. LAIC, I obviously play that Iron Hands list. Like, what I'm trying to illustrate here is playing a consistent deck at ICs always has merit. And like, there are obviously some anomalies here. Like, I don't know what I was doing with this Giratina box or Flaffy box, but if you play a consistent deck, you're going to do well at the ICs generally. And these are the ones where you don't have to tech out too much. But I think going forward, this is the right way to build a deck. You want to build the consistency in mind and really have a plan of action on how you're going to set up and how you're going to carry out the games. So it's nice to see that a lot of players are adopting the strategy. It does look like more people are looking at the consistency version. So why do I think this deck is underrated? Let's get into that part. So I'm going to pull up some limitless data here on the online version, which I know obviously has its flaws, but we're going to look up some matchup data. So what caught my eye with this deck was the following. I was favored into 3 of the big 5 decks, let's say. So Dragon Ball Dusknoir, I think, is way more than 53% win rate. I think this matchup is very, very good, no matter what. You're favored into Charizard, and I'll go over those lines in a bit. You're favored into Gardevoir. Gardevoir Jellicent's 58% here, and I don't know where the regular Gardevoir's 56. So huge matchups. And that was one that I knew I wasn't going to see a lot of because Europe hates Gardevoir for some reason. But still, having that in your back pocket, you've like over 55% into Gardevoir, over 55% into Dragapult, and probably around 55% into Charizard. That feels really, really good going into an IC. Where do you falter? Okay, Mega Box, yeah, good luck. It's not a great matchup, so it's 41% here. I'd probably argue it's a little bit lower. And then Goldengo. Goldengo is a problem. It's about 45-55, maybe 40-60. You need a lot to go right, and you need them to kind of whiff a little bit. I'll go through my matchups in a second and kind of explain where I'm coming from with that. But just seeing that Dragon Ball Dusknoir, which I expected to be the best deck, the biggest deck, was a 55% win rate, probably more. And then Gardevoir, which is another 15% of the meta, was the same deal. And then Charizard, which was gaining a lot of hype, was also at 55%. That made me really excited to play this list. And you also beat a lot of jank. So like Alakazam, and I don't mean to call Alakazam jank, but it's definitely a little bit off meta. You have a 60% win rate there. And Zoroark, if you play it correctly, you probably have a 55-45. The Mega Boxes are a little bit tough for sure. And then Pulsar, you have a 56. Ceruledge, you have a 55. Lopunny Dusknoir, you have a 54. Terrabox, you lose. But basically what I'm trying to get at is it felt like it was in the right place of the meta for this tournament. And I think going forward until Ascended Heroes hit, maybe even after Ascended Heroes hits, this is a deck that you should look at. This is a deck that you should try. And I think it's going to be good even after rotation. So it's never a bad thing to kind of dip your feet in with this. So let's go over my matchups real quick just so I can kind of show you guys what I was talking about. Still trying to learn how to use this. There we go. So match history here, so you can see what I played against. So I played against a mirror match round 1, Charizard. So that was those both went pretty well. So I started off 2-0. I played Eder on Goldengo. He just drew the stones. I couldn't stop him. He 2-0'd me quite quickly. Paltnor, win. And then I played against another Goldengo, which I managed to squeeze a tie out of, which I was quite satisfied with. I think anytime you take a tie out of Goldengo, you're happy. So far, you'll see Goldengo was my only blips. I had 2 blips, and they're both Goldengo so far. I played Caroline with Raging Bolt Ogerpon. It is a little bit of a weird set, so I wouldn't chalk it up to being a good indication of how that matchup is. I think I should lose that matchup most times, but there's a little bit of weird stuff going on with like DPLs and stuff, so we won't count that one. I lost a Grim Mirror. I just drew bad. I prized double Impidimp and then started a bear, so whatever, cool. Then I proceeded to beat a Ceruledge, lose to a Mega Box, and then beat 2 more Paltnors, beat another Mega Box. Well, I guess, oh, okay. I was like, when did this happen? But no, this didn't actually happen. This person didn't show up for some reason. So I don't know what happened there. So you take those no-shows where you can get them. But it was a Mega Box, so I probably would have lost that round. And then beat another Charizard Pidgeot in my winning into what I thought was top 64, but really was top 70. So what you can see here, the matchup data does hold true to what we kind of saw in the last slide. So there's the Goldengo matchups, which are not great. Paltnor is a good matchup. You have to get a double Froslass, but if you do, you're comfortable. And there's really not much they can do about it. If you're a Paltnor player, you're trying to beat Grimmsnarl, Rare Candy, Dragapult, and just going aggressive is really, really good. Hard for us to deal with. But as a Grimmsnarl player, if you're consistently targeting down the Duskulls, which you should do, this matchup is very, very strong. Goldengo, I don't know how we fix this just yet. I think a 1-1 Toedscruel would be really good, but it takes away from the overall consistency of the deck, so I think it's up to you to tech there where you want to. Mega Absol Box, I have some thoughts, but I don't really have anything too concrete about how we beat that. But what I'm trying to get at is you can kind of see your expected values. So I think going forward into rotation, you're going to see Dragapult just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Even after rotation, Dragapult's still very strong. I do think Mega Box does also get bigger, so that's a little bit of a downturn. But I think going towards rotation for the next 2 months or so, this is a great deck that you should all pick up. It's very, very cheap, very easy to learn. It obviously requires a lot of maintenance. I do think you need to be well practiced with it and a good player to get the most out of it. But it's a good, solid deck, and I think it is running under the radar. So I was really excited to come home and kind of make this video and put it together and kind of tell you guys my thoughts on this deck and my thoughts going forward. And those are those things. So let's hop into a couple things that I would probably add to my list. The first one is Energy Switch. I think this card is very, very important. You can do a lot of things with this. So the most important application of this, and I think what people don't realize from looking at the list just off face value and not knowing what the deck is itself, is this is item-based energy search. And so, or at least it can be in combination with Grimmsnarl's ability. So a big downfall of this deck is you don't have any item-based energy search. So sometimes you'll start with Arven, Arven or something else, and you can get TM Evo Buddy Poffin, but you don't have an energy. And there's no way for you to get an energy in this deck the way I have it built currently. So what this would do is it would allow you to accelerate using Grimmsnarl's ability, so you can always punk up and then move energies around freely where you need to, so you kind of have built-in energy search. The other thing it lets you do is you can use Munkidori multiple times without having the energies pre-attached. And if Grimmsnarl becomes a bigger deck, which I don't know if it will based off this tournament. I know I'm making this video shouting up propaganda for Grimmsnarl, but I don't know if it's going to grow based off this tournament because it didn't do particularly amazing. But if Grimmsnarl does grow, those energy switches are huge, right? Those extra Munkidoris, that's how you win the mirror. So that's a big one there, and it's a big one also into Mega Absol Box. You always want to out-monkey them. So Mega Absol getting bigger, probably prompt me to put an E-switch in there. The other thing I felt I was missing in this run was a little bit of pizzazz. My list was very basic. I think there were a couple times where it left a little bit to be desired. Like I wish I had a Badoo. I don't think you need Psyduck. I don't think Psyduck's a good card. Wish I had Toedscruel sometimes. So Energy Switch, Badoo is another one. So let me just get a Badoo here so I can explain why this is a good card. Itchy Pollen is very, very synergistic with Froslass. Obviously, if you have a monkey advantage, you can turn this into a very long game state where you're just able to kind of move all your damage around in a way that lets you take prizes without letting your opponent do a whole lot. This is also very, very good after your opponent takes a couple KOs on Grimmsnarl with Goldengo, and you can almost just win some games sometimes just by Itchy Pollening at the end of games. And we have a lot of Night Stretchers. We're able to recycle this, so this card is very, very good. Another card I would definitely consider in here is the Yveltal. So this card with Clutch. Again, a lot of endgame situations where I just wish I had something other than Grimmsnarl. This card will allow you to bring up other Pokemon and just keep them there while your Munkidoris and your Froslass are doing damage. To play this card, I would say you do need 3 boss. I don't think this is good without 3 boss. But with 3 boss and a Clutch, you can open up a lot of avenues to a lot of things. So that's another really good one. And then Toedscruel was the other one I had mentioned. Let me see if I can spell that correctly. I don't even know which set it's from. It sounds like Paradox Rift. Oh, I'm so good. Okay. Yeah, so this card is really, really good in Goldengo as well. And it's also good in Gardevoir. So for example, in the Gardevoir matchup, you typically don't want to set up Froslass because your opponent can go in with their own monkeys and really take advantage of that. But with Toedscruel, you can set it up very early against Gardevoir, and once you take a KO on Gardevoir, which you are able to one-shot with Grimmsnarl, it becomes actually really hard for them to replenish it. They have 1 Super Rod, and if they're wasting their Arven on a Super Rod, cool, we can live with that. And if they prize a Gardevoir or discarded one or anything like that, they're no longer able to use Night Stretcher to get it back. So this can get really, really weird. And you've seen a lot of Gardevoir lists recently, like if we pull up McConaughey's real quick. you will notice that he basically only plays one attacker. It's just Screamtail. You could argue that, yeah, you have Frillish, you have Mew, you have Clefairy, but if my opponent's putting down any of those 3 Pokemon in a Grimmsnarl matchup, I'm feeling pretty okay. So a lot of what they do goes through Screamtail, and a lot of what they do also goes through Munkidori plus Energy. And if you play Toadscruel, you're basically lost zoning those cards. Effectively, once you have a Toadscruel up, any Munkidori you kill is probably not coming back. So that also feels really good. So those are a few cards that I would include. As far as a build, I think the build of consistency is probably the best one right now. If you're going to a League Cup, you want to have a couple of edges. You can always tech in Psyduck if you find that you're having issues with Dragon Ball Dusknoir. You can tech in Yveltal. You can tech in Badoo. There's a bunch of stuff you can tech into this deck. But I think this list is a great place to start. I do recommend you all start with this and let me know how it goes. But that's all I got. I think this is very underrated. I think you should all try it. And if you do, let me know. I hope you got something good out of this. And please do let me know if you have any questions down below. Always happy to answer those. And like and subscribe if you're new. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Peace. Yo, my bad, gang. Postmortem Anil here real quick again. I realized there's something I forgot to talk about. It is the Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX. We need to talk about this real quick before I sign off. So this card is very contentious in this deck. There are people that will swear by it. There are people that will swear against it. You play 11 basics. So your odds of starting this are not non-zero, but it's okay. You'll start it once in a while, and you can live with that. But the reason why I think this card might not be as good as I thought it was is because we don't play Energy Switch. I think the fact that I don't play Energy Switch is making Bear not be as relevant as it should be. I think this card, I was like trying to go back through my rounds and think about how much it helped me. I was learning this deck as I went, by the way, like for the most part. Like, I didn't have too much experience with Grimmsnarl prior to this. I played a couple locals or whatever, but a lot of like the really nitty gritty I was learning as I went. And I found that like Ursaluna was just not a card that came up that often. Most games and most endgame states come down to Devos. They come down to me needing the 180 plus 30 from Grimmsnarl to win a game. With Ursaluna, I'm basically only using this when my opponent has 1 or 2 prize cards remaining, and I need to exactly take a 2 prize KO, which is difficult because my build only has 3 gusts. So I have 1 counter catcher, 2 boss. If I'm looking to kill something with Ursaluna, I need to do 2 things. I need to, A, search out the Ursaluna out of a hand that likely got Iono to 1 or 2, and I need to, B, gust in the same turn. So I play 4 Arven, so searching it out, sure, you can argue 4 Arven, 1 Nest Ball, 1 Ultra Ball. I do have ways to get it out. But the problem is I also need a gust a lot in the same turn. And I find that this isn't coming up as much as Devo. So it's contentious. Again, it's contentious. You're going to start some games. It's going to lose you some games. It's probably going to win you some games. And I found that the threat of just having it was enough sometimes to throw my opponents off to get them to boss KO it if I benched it preemptively. So that was really nice. It forced my opponents to respect it. But as far as using Bloodmoon for game, I think I only did it like once. And for that reason, I think if I went and played this to Seattle, I don't know if I would play this card again. It's so hard to tell because it's such a player preference. But for me right now, I would sit on the fence of no. I'd probably rather tech out my deck with other stuff like Badoo and Yveltal. I feel like those are just as good late game. And really do some experimenting. And now that I'm done with EUIC and I kind of got the chunk of points that I needed to be comfortable for the rest of the year and do all that, I can experiment a little bit. So I'm probably going to spend the next week kind of experimenting on this Grimmsnarl deck, kind of doing some iterations to it. If there's appetite for it, I can always keep you guys updated, make another video on Grimmsnarl and include some gameplay. Let me know if that's something that you guys would like. But as far as this card goes, as far as the tech cards, I think there's a lot of exploration that needs to be done. This is one of those points that I think is the most contentious. And so going forward, try it in your deck, see if you like it. I think it's like for example, I was talking to Kieran about it. Kieran loves it. I was talking to a couple of other guys about it. They hate it. Like, it's just, you never know, right? So let me know how you feel about Bear. But anyways, I'm done here. Thank you. Have a great night. It's like, what? Dude, it's like 3 in the morning for me right now, UK time, and I'm pumping out videos about Grimmsnarl. I gotta touch some grass. Peace.